So imagine a guy who has survived 3 massive heart attacks.
Right.
He independently drained his own inoperable brain tumor, and he's currently writing a new book every single week.
Which is wild enough on its own.
Yeah, but get this. He's doing it completely blind.
It really is unbelievable.
And he credits his survival and, honestly, this insane output, not to traditional modern medicine, but to a 5-minute daily routine. He basically treats the human body like this highly adaptable quantum energy grid.
Yeah, and that's the paradox we're really digging into for today's deep dive. We're looking at this system built by a teacher who has over 46 years of practical experience. He's taught in like 100 different countries.
Wow, 100.
Yeah, all over the world. And his whole mission is to basically strip away all that vague, unscientific mysticism that you usually see surrounding ancient yoga.
Right, getting rid of the woo-woo stuff.
Exactly. He wants to replace it with actual practical mechanics. He is actively trying to bridge ancient spiritual sciences with modern quantum physics to bring people into what he calls a multidimensional human experience.
A multidimensional experience. Okay, so to even understand how a 5-minute daily protocol could change your life, we kind of have to start with his radical view of physics, right?
Yeah, we have to completely leave the 3D world behind.
Right, because he argues that looking at the human body as just a biological machine in a 3-dimensional world is completely insufficient.
Totally.
He points out that various modern physicists theorize our universe actually has 5, 7, or even 11 dimensions. And he argues that most of humanity is basically just stuck operating in one single dimension.
Which is wild to think about. And the main mechanism he focuses on to get out of that is energy flow.
Okay.
He claims that by unblocking these internal energy systems, humans can literally tap into those dormant dimensions. And from his viewpoint, once you access a new dimension, you can actually bend the traditional constraints of time and space.
I mean, I know that sounds like straight up science fiction.
It really does. But he grounds the whole thing in established physics, specifically quantum entanglement.
Ah, okay. The whole spooky action at a distance thing.
Yes, exactly. Einstein's famous phrase.
Right, so that's the concept where particles are connected in a way that if you interact with one, it immediately affects the other, no matter how far apart they are.
Right.
Like in classical physics, distance dictates how long energy takes to transfer. But with entanglement, distance doesn't matter at all. The particles could be on opposite sides of the planet.
Right. The distance is entirely irrelevant. And what's really compelling here is how he takes this purely theoretical physics concept and applies it to biological human healing.
Oh, right. Remote energy healing.
Yeah. He uses entanglement as the literal mechanism for it. He explains that if you know how to use entanglement through, like, highly disciplined mental intention, you can connect with another person's biological framework.
Even if they're nowhere near you.
Exactly. He says one person could be sitting in Morocco and the patient could be way down in South Africa.
That is a massive distance.
Right. But through focused thought, which he's honed over 5 decades, obviously he establishes that entangled connection, and then he manipulates and balances the patient's energies from afar to accelerate their medical treatment.
So how does he visualize that actually working on a mechanical level?
Well, he uses an analogy from the physics of acoustics. He talks about the tuning fork effect.
Okay, I think I know where this is going.
Yeah, so if you strike a tuning fork, so it vibrates at a really strong, dominant, high frequency, and then you bring a dormant or lower frequency tuning fork near it.
The weaker one is forced to match the stronger one.
Exactly. They biologically balance out. And that maps perfectly onto his quantum healing model.
Because his own energy is so highly balanced from decades of practice.
Right. His frequency is the dominant tuning fork. So when he connects his intention to someone who is severely ill, someone whose frequency is, really low and chaotic, his stable energy just supersedes theirs. The sick person's system starts absorbing his frequency, which creates this stabilized physiological platform so their body can heal faster.
It's honestly kind of like cloud syncing our personal energy fields.
Oh, I like that. Cloud syncing.
Yeah, think about it. But instead of using Wi-Fi, the bandwidth is just human intention.
Right.
Like, if his energy is this fully charged, highly stable server, he's basically using focused thought to force the sick person's glitchy, corrupted biological software to run on his optimized hardware. from across the globe.
That is a great analogy. You're using the quantum cloud to push a critical software update to a failing system.
Right.
And that analogy holds up perfectly when you look at the energetic cost of doing that, because pushing a massive software update like that drains the battery of the host device.
Oh, for sure.
He is very open about the fact that his own energy levels just plummets during these sessions. His energy depletes heavily as it flows into the sick person.
Which introduces a pretty massive biological problem.
Yeah, how do you refill your own tank when you're constantly bleeding out energy to heal other people?
Right. And that brings us to his whole perspective on fuel, which if you're listening to this during that classic 3 p.m. slump at work, you're probably reaching for a snack or an espresso right about now.
Oh, absolutely.
But he argues that humans are actually designed to absorb subtle energy from 5 different physical elements, and they correspond to the first 5 chakras.
Right. But right now, modern humans only even attempt to get energy from one of those elements.
The earth element, which is food.
Exactly. And he views our modern food supply as essentially a dead battery. He issues a really stark warning about this deficit.
Yeah, but wait.
He points out that even if you are super strict, right, like you only eat organic food, you avoid all ultra-processed junk, you are still operating at a huge energy deficit.
Because of the soil.
Right. The soil itself is profoundly degraded. Between all the industrial pollution and over-farming, the quantum energetic footprint of our food is just gone.
Yeah, the statistic he gave was crazy.
Oh, the orange one. Yeah. He estimates that an orange grown today might only have like 10 to 20% of the energetic and nutritional value that it would have had 50 years ago.
To 10%. That's, I mean, if the soil is that depleted, food is basically dead weight for someone who needs massive amounts of energy.
Exactly. So he had to find a more immediate delivery system, which led him to bypass digestion entirely and focus on the other elements.
Starting with water.
Right. And he's not just talking about hydration here. He's looking at water for its literal energetic conductivity.
Okay.
He notes that drinking pure water from unpolluted sources, he mentions Tibetan rivers specifically, has such a high natural energy frequency that just half a glass can satiate his physical hunger for up to 8 hours.
8 hours from half a glass of water. That is wild.
Yeah, but it gets wilder. He takes the absorption of water way past just drinking it.
Right, the running tap thing.
Yes. He claims he can absorb energy directly into his activated pineal gland just by running the backs of his hands under a running tap.
Okay, see, I have to jump in here.
Yeah.
Because,
I figured you might.
yeah, I have a little healthy skepticism here. Or at least, I really want to look at the underlying mechanics.
Yeah.
Because is this a literal, measurable transfer of quantum energy from the tap water into his brain?
Right.
Or are we just looking at a really powerful physiological grounding technique?
Yeah.
Like cold water hitting that dense network of nerve endings on the back of the hand that immediately hacks the parasympathetic nervous system.
Oh, absolutely. It shuts off the stress response.
Right, which naturally makes you feel a massive surge of energy because you're suddenly not bleeding adrenaline anymore.
And that physiological response is totally measurable. The parasympathetic activation is undeniable.
So it's just biology then.
Well, here's where his framework breaks from traditional Western science. He argues that the nervous system response is just the mechanical translation of a deeper, subtle energy exchange.
Oh, I see.
He says the physical nerves are just the wiring. The actual current being drawn into the system is the elemental energy of the water itself.
Okay, so the water is the electricity, the nerves are the cables.
Exactly. He acknowledges that modern science doesn't really have the precise tools to fully quantify this yet, but the functional result for him is that his system recharges.
And he does this with the other elements too, right? Like fire and air.
Yeah. For the fire element, which ties to digestion and the solar plexus, he absorbs subtle energy directly from the sun's UV rays. He says they penetrate deep into the bones.
Right. And he mentioned those Himalayan yogis too.
Yeah, the ones who survive in freezing caves on almost no food because they sleep near that protective Duni fire.
Because the fire isn't just for thermal heat or, keeping leopards away. It's an active, energetic replenishment system.
Right. And then his adaptations get even more extreme when you look at the air element.
The breathwork stuff.
Yeah, advanced pranayama. By constantly practicing these breathing protocols, his lung efficiency has expanded so much that his metabolic engine operates in a totally different gear.
He burns through oxygen at an insane rate.
A staggering rate. It totally upends how we understand human respiration.
Yeah, the detail about him sleeping in a closed room really stuck with me.
Oh, yeah. Where he starts to suffocate.
Yes. He says if he sleeps in a closed room, within 3 to 4 hours, he literally starts suffocating.
Yeah.
He consumes the oxygen so fast that the carbon dioxide levels become toxic,
He absolutely has to sleep with a window cracked open just to balance the atmosphere.
which he actually couldn't do as a kid in South Africa because of mosquitoes and bats.
Yeah, it's such a specific problem to have, but because he's pulling all this life force directly from the air, the water, and the sun, his actual caloric intake is incredibly minimal.
Right, he eats, what, 1 or 2 small meals a day?
Yeah, like first thing in the morning, he has a green smoothie with raw cruciferous veggies, flax seeds, and exactly 5 grams of salt. And then maybe a small bowl of warm lentil soup later.
And he's really specific about how it's prepared, too.
Oh, he's adamant about not overcooking the vegetables. High heat destroys the quantum footprint of the plant. He says it kills like 80% of its value.
Wow. And then there's the peanuts. His snacking habits are super interesting, especially when you think about modern food crises.
Right, he keeps a big 2.25-liter jug of water by his bed, along with raw, unsalted peanuts.
And the unsalted part is non-negotiable.
Strict rule, and it shows how much he understands about how modern food overrides our biology. He notes that if the peanuts have salt on them, the sodium hijacks the body's natural fullness signals.
You get that dopamine hit.
Exactly. It overrides his regulation, and he ends up accidentally eating half a pound in 2 days. But if they're raw and unsalted,
His body just eats purely for fuel. He said a couple of pounds will last him an entire month.
yeah. And this super intense regulation of his inputs isn't just some, eccentric lifestyle choice. It is the exact framework he used to survive an unbelievable cascade of medical emergencies.
Yeah, he's basically been the ultimate guinea pig for his own science,
Completely. Over his life, he has survived 3 major heart attacks.
which is astounding.
And he reversed 20 years of insulin-dependent diabetes.
Wait, reversed?
Yes. He went from taking up to 5 insulin injections a day for a decade to having totally normal blood sugar levels.
That is incredible. And the neuropathy, too, right?
Yeah, he reversed 99% of massive, medically incurable neuropathy. But the wildest part is definitely the brain tumor.
Oh, man. Yeah.
So it was an inoperable tumor. Surgery was technically an option, but the doctors told him there was a 3 to 4% chance he'd be left in a permanent vegetative state.
And his logic for refusing the surgery is fascinating, because I think most people would look at a 4% risk and say, okay, those are pretty good odds, let's do it.
Right, 96% chance of being okay.
Exactly. But he looked at it as a strict binary outcome. To him, it was just a 50-50 chance he'd be the one who ends up in that 4%.
Right.
And he flat out refused to accept that risk. So instead, he used his energy manipulation protocols to independently drain the tumor himself over time.
Which is mind-blowing. But we have to mention his huge, crucial caveat here.
Yes, this is so important.
He absolutely does not believe that yoga should replace medical science or basic common sense.
Right. Don't skip the doctor.
Exactly. He's very candid that a lot of his worst health crises were actually caused by terrible advice he got from the yogic community when he was younger.
Like the sleep deprivation.
Oh, that's a glaring example. Early on, these traditions taught him that advanced yogis only needed 3 to 4 hours of sleep a night.
Which is biologically terrible.
Right. He followed that for years, and now he openly blames that severe sleep deficit for his high blood pressure, chronic stress, and probably even triggering his diabetes.
Wow. So he realized that was nonsense.
Yes, he used modern science to realize it was nonsense. Now he strictly advocates for at least 7 to 9 hours of sleep every night, just to maintain the energy grid.
Good. Yeah, sleep is so important.
Yeah.
But this whole blend of ancient technique and modern adaptability is really being put to the test right now, right?
Yeah. Since May of 2023, the author has been completely blind.
Which is just heartbreaking. But also,
Despite this huge physical limitation, his output has literally never been higher.
right, he's entirely independent. He writes books, creates content, manages everything using an iPhone, voice commands, and this massive suite of AI tools.
Yeah, his tech stack is crazy. He uses Gemini, Claude, Notebook LM, and his favorite one, Grok. Yes. Which he affectionately calls his Grok. It's such a funny image. This master yogi using cutting-edge AI to write a book a week.
And he actually got into a 10-day argument with Grok recently, right?
Yeah, he had put the AI in a timeout.
That is hilarious, just putting an AI in a timeout.
He also credits a lot to his close friend Khaled. Khaled gives him the financial and personal support he needs to keep operating while he builds this massive library.
But the way he talks about the blindness is really striking.
Yeah, he doesn't accept it as permanent at all.
Right. He sees 2 ways to get his sight back. One is reaching a grandmaster level of his own energy healing, which would give him the internal bandwidth to literally reverse the eye damage.
And the second is this highly anticipated medical technology coming out of Harvard.
Right, slated for early 2027. He thinks it could cure his specific condition in just 6 to 8 weeks.
It really highlights the core contradiction that makes him so fascinating. You have this man who has dealt with undeniable physical traumas, heart attacks, blindness, a brain tumor, but he acts completely unconstrained by his biology.
Yeah, he never treats his body like it's a broken machine. It's always just an adaptable energy grid. It just needs the right inputs and frequency adjustments.
And having pushed the limits of this science on his own body, his ultimate goal now is to democratize it for everyone else.
Because he knows normal people don't have decades to go meditate in a cave in the Himalayas.
Exactly. He wants to bring this efficiency to the masses, which is what's driving this incredibly ambitious publishing timeline.
Oh, the 1,000 volumes. Yeah. He has a goal to publish 1,000 volumes of his work.
A book a week.
Right, aiming for 40 books a year.
Yeah.
And he's deliberately pricing them at just $5.
Which he points out is cheaper than a latte.
Way cheaper. And he's doing it to create at least a 1 millimeter impact on the trajectory of humanity.
He says 1,000 books are necessary because human suffering is just so dynamic. Teaching in 100 countries showed him that you can't condense a 50-year study of the human condition into one book.
And he's working on a deadline, too.
Right. Recognizing that today is 2026, he is looking exactly 20 years down the road.
To 2046. He has this wild optimism for that year. He really believes that in 20 years, humanity is going to cross into a new golden age.
Yeah, unprecedented health, huge longevity, way less stress, and all this seamless supportive tech.
But to survive long enough to actually see that golden age, we need tools that work right now.
Exactly. We can't rely on those isolating hour-long meditation practices anymore.
So he distilled 50 years of trial and error into a completely free 5-minute daily yoga and meditation program.
And here's the kicker. He insists that a 2-minute meditation is infinitely better than sitting for an hour.
Which sounds completely backwards, right? Like, if the goal is massive energy transformation, why restrict it to 2 minutes?
It actually comes down to the biology of the brain. If you sit still for an hour, your analytical mind, the default mode network, has 58 minutes to mount a defense.
Oh, right. You start thinking about emails.
Exactly. Emails, replaying old arguments, generating anxiety. But if you restrict it to just 2 minutes of intense, focused frequency shifting, you bypass all that chatter.
You drop in, overwrite the chaotic frequency with a balanced one, and get out before your brain even realizes what happened.
It is such a pragmatic approach to spirituality. He's just asking you to use tiny pockets of time to get exponential results. He promises that if you do this 5-minute protocol daily, within 6 to 8 weeks, you'll be operating from a totally noticeably lighter baseline.
You stop bleeding energy.
Right. And that changes everything. He notes that roughly 60% of people today are single, lonely, and struggling to form relationships.
It's like a pandemic of energetic isolation.
Exactly. But if you stabilize your frequency, you change how you interact with everything. You're less reactive, more open. You just stop operating from a deficit.
Wow. Bringing this deep dive full circle.
Mm.
I think his synthesis of quantum physics, ancient yoga, and AI tech, it isn't about escaping modern life at all.
Not at all.
It's about becoming remarkably efficient within it. And he has one final, very practical piece of advice.
Yeah.
You have to take care of numero uno first.
Yeah.
You have to prioritize your health and manage your own grid, because you actually need to be around to experience this coming golden age.
You can't push a software update from a dead device.
Right.
And you can't pour from an empty cup.
Yeah.
Whether you're healing someone across the globe or you're just trying to get through a stressful Tuesday at the office, you have to ruthlessly manage your inputs and outputs.
So, to you listening right now, thank you for embarking on this deep dive with us. Take a moment today to examine your own energy grid. Look at where your battery is silently draining, and maybe consider carving out just 2 minutes to intentionally reset your frequency.
It's the smallest possible daily investment, but it carries massive biological and psychological returns.
And we want to leave you with one final, lingering thought to mull over. If we truly are multidimensional beings, capable of using quantum entanglement to send healing energy across time and space, perhaps the person we need to send that balanced, stable frequency to the most isn't some patient on the other side of the planet. Perhaps it's our own future self, waiting for us 20 years from now in that golden age.